Hi, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the CEO and co-founder of Trident. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Anuj, founder of Gambit Cyber. Anuj, thanks and welcome.
Thank you so much, Josh, for having me.
Anuj, I know we've known each other for a long time. Can you give everybody a bit of a brief history on kind of your career in cyber, particularly CTI, and then bring us up to kind of the modern day of Gambit?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit, bigger background. I'm 20 plus years in technology. I started my cyber career almost a decade back with a company called Eyesight Partners.
Hmm,
It was a small boutique firm which was doing threat intelligence, which was then taken over by FireEye. At FireEye, I became the architect of their various tip platforms. Then FireEye got acquired Mandiant, where at Mandiant I became the lead architect, and I was responsible for the architecture of the Mandiant Advantage threat intelligence platform. I spent around 5 years working with some great industry leaders at Mandiant. And from there, I moved on to a company called Intel 471, where I was the chief architect looking around their technology strategy and building out their next generation of threat intelligence platform. And then I stayed there for 2 years. And back in February last year is when I embarked on my own journey and built Gambit Cyber. And that's what we are
nice.
doing.
Hell of a journey. There's some big names on the resume. Like,
Yeah,
did you
yeah, yeah.
Were you in engineering? We talk about eyesight because I know a lot of the eyesight guys and like a hell of a team, and you
Yeah.
know why it was so successful because if you look at a lot of the early team members and where they are now, they're all founders and
Yeah.
co-founders and entrepreneurs, or mostly retired, living on a yacht in the Bahamas. Um,
Exactly.
but did you start in engineering as a career?
Yeah, I started on the technology side of the the cyber program.
Mhm.
So I was looking at mostly around how we can actually enable our customers and clients to better utilize and better use the intelligence that we were producing. And while in that process, I got more and more ingrained into the overall business aspect of intelligence. And then over a period of 10 years, I also built that domain knowledge, which then makes it kind of a unique mix where I already have a very good technical background, but now
Mm.
I bring in the domain expertise as well. And therefore, if I have an idea, then it's very easy for me to bootstrap it.
Yeah, that's very true. We'll come back to that. We'll talk about that point later. But it's interesting because eyesight was very heavily on the services, the old school intelligence. Here's a report, here's a phone call. To then try and
Correct.
kind of platform it almost is a was a challenge, right? Hence
Yes.
the acquisitions and stuff. So I can understand that journey. So talk to us about Gambit. Like, what was the itch? Like, why did you move from Intel 471, another great brand, great leadership team, and doing some great things in the underground? Like, what was the reason why February 2024 you were like, this is my own thing now. I'm time. It's ready.
Yeah. So look, I always had that itch of doing something on my own, and
Mm,
I kept having few ideas, but then somewhere in the December following the February of 2024, I had some ideas where I thought, you know what, I should actually take that plunge. Okay, and one of the core things that at least was always itching was that despite there are hundreds and hundreds of security tools in the
mm,
industry, you know, and yet breaches are still happening, right? And then one of the core things that came out was in one of the cybersecurity industry leading research is that 80% of the breaches happen at organizations that actually had a tool in place that could have prevented that breach, right? So that got me thinking as to what exactly is the problem. So look, there is this plethora of tools. There's
mm.
plethora of security tools that can actually help. But then, why is it still that the program is not mature enough? And based on the research that we started doing, we figured out that there were there were four key areas
Mm.
that were actually giving us this picture. The first was that, and they all built on top of each other. So the first was that, look, the threat landscape is only now ever evolving, especially with the advent of AI. It's becoming more and more problematic and difficult for the organizations to understand what is it that they should be prioritizing, right? Now, if an organization do understand what is it that they can prioritize, the second thing is they do not have a very clear mechanism to objectively measure whether the security tools that they have can really
Hmm.
prevent and mitigate those threats, right?
Yep.
Now, imagine both of them are in place in an organization. The third thing is a lot of organizations do not have enough skilled people that do really understand these complex tools that can actually help them mitigate.
Yep.
Now imagine there's a big organization which is like, very mature and have all these three things in place. They still struggle with the fact that there is no, once you have these tools in place, there's no objective and clear recommendation and remediation plan that they can build and say that, look, I start from here and I want to go there. Okay. So that is based on these four problem statements that we found. We decided to build Gambit in order to help organizations address these shortcomings.
Okay, so you are design and building the business to target all four of those problem areas, which are the core pillars of why a company is still leveraged.
Absolutely. So for us, the vision, if you see
Hmm.
the vision of Gambit Cyber is to provide a single pane of glass view to the entire CISO organization. If you see, a CISO organization consists of majorly three core verticals. One, you have a GRC vertical,
Yep.
which takes care of the governance, risk, and compliance. The other is the IT ops or the IT admin vertical, which takes care of the controls that needs to be put in place. And then you have the SecOps vertical, which actually takes care of what are the threats that are relevant to me and how can I hunt and detect for those threats. Okay. At Gambit Cyber, we are trying to provide a single pane of glass, okay, view so that these three verticals can actually work cohesively towards a single vision of improving the security posture of an organization.
And to visualize, so the CISO can log into the single pane of glass, aka the platform, and they will
Yeah.
be able to pull those three key pillars or business units and teams and their like tasks, priorities, etc., to make sure everyone's pushing in the same direction.
Yeah, imagine. So, look, if you see in the platform, the first thing that you, as an organization, do is each department can define their own target profile,
Hmm.
where they are and where they want to be. Okay. For example, a SecOps team member can come and say, hey, you know what? For me, these are the top 20 threat techniques that are most relevant for me for the next 6 months.
Yep.
Okay. And I want to focus purely on that. Whereas the IT ops team or the IT admin team can come in and say, hey, you know what? Access control is the most important control for me for the next 6 months, right? And similarly, the GRC can come and say, hey, you know what? The identification of the assets and the policies around, identification of those assets is the most important for me. Everybody can define their own target profile, and the CISO can have a view of what all these three are currently doing and how they are prioritizing it based on each other's work.
Okay, and that makes sense, right? And that's like in the ideal perfect world using
Right.
Gambit, and that's the solution. What does it look like today? Just in like an average general organization. I'm guessing
Mhm.
it's super disconnected, fragmented, and like the CISO like cannot see that at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you see a typical CTI program in
Hmm.
mid to large enterprise, what it entails. Okay, you have a typical tip platform
Yep.
which is purely there for collecting the threads. That's it, right? Then you have another platform, probably a GRC platform, like a lot of vendors out there who purely understand, provide you an insight into your business risk based compliance part. right?
Yep.
And then you have yet another few platforms like, you have the threat hunting and detection platform, you have the BAS platforms, and you have the other controls platform. Okay. So for a CISO, in order to get that single view, it he currently has a separate team sitting on top of each of these, GRC, IT ops, and admin team,
Hmm.
whose pure job is to collate all these data and provide him on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly reporting that he can then take it to his board.
Yep.
And that's what we are trying to solve. Basically, like, we are trying to streamline that whole process for the CISO.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total. And I'm just trying to visualize how that then works, right? And then what the current state of play is versus where you want to help them get to. And it makes sense. On the like the branding of Gambit, you talk a lot about operationalizing intelligence, right? And we don't need to go into what CTI is because it's again a developed space that's becoming more embedded in cyber programs and less of a
Right.
nice to have. Like, what do you mean by operationalizing the intel?
Yes. Right. So look, at an organization, okay, uh, or let me start a little bit back. Threat intelligence has become very democratized, right?
Hmm.
It's a lot of people are producing threat intelligence. A lot of people are, a lot of organizations, a lot of companies are actually producing very good intelligence. Okay, but the onus of then understanding, prioritizing, scoping that intelligence, discovering what is most relevant,
Hmm.
and then validating those aspects. That whole onus lies on the CTI team of an organization. Okay,
Yep.
that whole piece of how do you take an intelligence or threat intelligence and then contextualize it in your environment to better remediate and prevent and have proactive and preemptive defensive measures. Okay. That
Hmm.
whole process is on the onus of the CTI teams. Okay.
Yep.
And depending upon how senior, junior your CTI team is, they interpret that very differently. Okay.
Yeah.
Example, and
Subjective.
very subjective, very
Yep.
subjective. Just a very simple example. We were talking to a large non-banking financial institution, and for them, an access control, a very simple aspect of access control, okay, has a very, very different meaning on, a way of approach than and another, how typically it should be approached, okay, which makes it very subjective. Okay. And for us, what operationalization basically means at Gambit is that we want to take that subjectivity out of the equation as much as possible so that we provide you with a very clear guidance on what is it, what are the threats that are most relevant to you,
Hmm.
okay, based on industry standard frameworks. Once you've understood what are the threats that are most relevant to you, the next thing you want to understand is what is it that my team should be focusing on today and this week, and we provide that very clear guidance. And after that, once you've understood that, this is the most important thing for me for today and this week, the next question is for the IT ops team, for example, is that, okay, I understand this is the threat. What is it that I can do in my controls to mitigate and
Hmm.
prevent this threat from materializing? That you
Yeah.
get a prioritized view. And similarly, for the SecOps part, we then tell you, hey, you know what? If this is the threat, this is how you can detect it. This is how you can hunt for it. And because we are SIEM agnostic, you can detect and you can send your detection queries in any language format in any of your SIEM systems.
So are
So that is
you?
by
Sorry.
operationalizing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good explanation. Thank you for the context. So, a question I have around like the threat hunting, for example, let's just pick at that. Like, are you going to package up the intelligence to then go, hey, based on behaviors or signatures or, or whatever artifacts or whatever you go hunting your seam to go hunting your network, go hunt. And by the way, look in that direction first, because I think that's probably more likely to be found there if they are already in your network.
Mhm.
You can provide that.
100%. And in fact, what we do is one of the aspects that I forgot to mention is that we call ourselves a very AI native platform, right?
Hmm.
And specifically in the context of detection and hunting, okay, it is a very niche skill to have. And when I say niche skill, okay, depending upon what kind of scene you have. So, for example, if you have Azure Sentinel, you probably
Hmm.
have to write KQL query. Whereas if you have a Splunk, then you have to have expertise in Splunk query writing, or you may have to have experience in Sigma query writing. We, as an AI native platform, we take that burden out of the SOC analyst, and our AI can actually generate the right set of queries based on the context it has received that you can then simply take, test, and validate in your environment in less than few minutes.
And it's seam agnostic, so therefore you don't have to be an expert in AQL or in Splunk query. Like you can, it's whatever tool that you have, it will write in that query. In
You just say that, look, I have this seam,
yeah, and over
and that's
time
it.
it'll learn what your seam is anyway, right? And that's what
Exactly.
generative
There's a
AI. Yeah.
feedback. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Exciting times for Gambit. I know you're just getting started, and I know so currently building an engineering team out in India. I saw.
Yes. Yes. So our core team is based out of India, and yeah, my co-founder is based out of Australia. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So, talk to us then. Final point really is if I am listening or watching, I'm the audience.
Mhm.
What's your kind of ICP? Like, who are you having conversations with at the moment? And therefore, if I am a director of Intel, or is it like whoever the audience is, should I get in touch?
Yeah. For us, at least for the initial first few years, the ICP is any large or mid enterprise that already has an at least existing CTI program in place, and they want to see and improve their CTI program, especially around how they can have an AI native capabilities to streamline and improve and have effectiveness in the CTI program. That is the core for us. Now, the ICP, for example, we are working with a lot of financial institutions.
Hmm.
We're working with some of the defense sectors as well, which are very keen and very interested in having this, a core platform that will drive a lot of compliance aspect as well. So yeah, that is for us currently the ICP. So anybody who's like a CTA director or a CISO who's looking to improve on the overall process as well as understand how the compliance and the threat intelligence piece can be merged together.
Yep.
That's
Nice.
where
Okay, cool. And you're based in the Netherlands, right?
we are based in the Netherlands. Yeah, the headquarters of Gambit is in the Netherlands.
Okay, great. We will put some links and some contact points as well if people want to get in touch with you, Anuj, just to drop you a note.
Yeah.
But I will let you get back to building the powerhouse of Gambit. I do appreciate your time and thank you for explaining kind of the mission, the why you are doing what you're doing. I wish you all the best for 2025, and I'll see you soon anyway.
Thank you so much, Josh. And yes, always a pleasure to talk to you.